The summer that changed everything. I want to take you back to a moment that changed my life forever. A memory from a long-gone summer. A day that started out full of light and ended in a way I never could have expected. It was June 1955, and I was 2 days away from my high school graduation, standing on the cusp of the future, with no idea what awaited me. We were young then, full of dreams and ambitions, every one of us excited to leave the confines of high school behind. The world felt big, yet somehow small enough that we thought we could conquer it. To celebrate the end of an era, a few friends and I planned one final adventure. One last hurrah before we all went our separate ways. The location we chose was perfect. A picnic by the lake, tucked deep into the woods, far from the prying eyes of parents and teachers. It was the kind of place that felt like it belonged only to us. The day started out as beautiful as any I can remember. The sky was a flawless blue, with the sun hanging high, casting its golden glow over everything it touched. The air was warm but crisp, carrying the familiar scent of pine and fresh water. Even now, I can still remember the way the breeze danced through the trees, the leaves whispering secrets to one another. We set up camp on the shore, spreading out blankets and unpacking the food we had brought, sandwiches, chips, soda, and of course, the obligatory graduation cake. Laughter filled the air as we joked, played games, and talked about what we would do after graduation. The lake itself was something out of a postcard. Its surface shimmered in the sunlight, reflecting the blue of the sky like a giant mirror. But as inviting as it looked, we all knew the truth. This was Michigan, and even in the heart of summer, the water was brutally cold. The chill of the lake was notorious, and none of us were in a hurry to test it, especially since the warmth of the shore was so pleasant. But as the day wore on, the inevitable happened. A few of my friends, always the daredevils, decided they'd had enough lounging on the shore. Before I knew it, they were running toward the dock, daring one another to jump in. One by one, they dove into the frigid water, their bodies disappearing beneath the surface, only to reappear moments later on a floating platform about 1,500 yards away from shore. I watched from a distance as they clambered onto the platform, dripping wet but laughing, their shouts carrying across the water. They waved at me, calling out, daring me to join them. Part of me hesitated. I knew how cold that water was, and the thought of diving into it sent a shiver down my spine. I stood there for a moment, torn between the comfort of the shore and the thrill of joining them. But I was 18, and I had something to prove, not just to them but to myself. I wasn't about to back down from a challenge, especially not on what was supposed to be our final adventure together. So, without giving it another thought, I kicked off my shoes, stripped down to my swim trunks, and took off running toward the lake. My heart pounded with excitement and a hint of fear as I sprinted across the sand. When I hit the water, it was like plunging into ice. The cold was a shock to my system, stealing my breath the moment I submerged. For a second, I froze, my body protesting the sudden change in temperature. But then I pushed forward, forcing myself to swim, stroke after stroke, determined to make it to the platform. Each movement was mechanical, my arms cutting through the water as I tried to block out the numbing cold. My muscles screamed in protest, but I wouldn't stop. I couldn't. The cheers of my friends spurred me on, their voices carrying across the water like distant echoes. I was about halfway there when it happened. A sharp, stabbing pain shot through my abdomen, a cramp so intense it took my breath away. My legs, which had been kicking furiously just moments before, suddenly stopped working. Panic flared in my chest as I realized I couldn't move. My limbs felt like lead, heavy and useless, and the more I struggled, the more I sank. I tried to kick, to swim, to do anything, but my body wouldn't respond. The cold was too much, and it felt like the lake itself was pulling me down, dragging me deeper into its icy embrace. I thrashed, gasping for air, but all I managed to do was swallow mouthfuls of water. My lungs burned, and for a terrifying moment I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. I was drowning, and there was nothing I could do about it. Time seemed to slow down as I slipped beneath the surface, the world around me fading into a murky blur. The cold was unbearable now, seeping into my bones, numbing me from the inside out. I opened my eyes underwater, but all I could see was darkness. I was alone, sinking deeper and deeper into the lake, and I knew I was going to die. But then, just as I thought I was lost, I felt a strange sensation. It was as if someone was pulling me back up. My body broke through the surface, and I gasped for air, coughing and sputtering, my vision blurry. I could see the platform, still far away, and my friends on it, still laughing and waving, completely unaware of the danger I was in. I tried to call out to them, to scream for help, but no sound came out. My voice was gone, stolen by the cold and the water. Before I could do anything else, I went under again. This time, I didn't come back up. The water was everywhere, surrounding me, suffocating me. My chest felt like it was going to explode, my lungs screaming for air that I couldn't give them. The world around me went dark, and I felt myself sinking, until I hit the bottom. The lake bed was soft, almost like mud, and as I sat there, motionless, I felt the weeds wrap around my legs, anchoring me in place. In that moment, I realized I was dying. It wasn't a dramatic realization. It was quiet, almost peaceful. My body was too tired to fight anymore, and I knew that this was the end. The panic was gone now, replaced by a strange calm. I was dying, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. But then something even stranger happened. Just as I was about to let go, to surrender to the darkness, I heard a voice. It wasn't loud or booming. It was soft, almost like a whisper, but it was clear. "Andy," it said, "you need to stop struggling." I was too tired to be surprised. The voice sounded familiar, like an old friend, but I couldn't place it. "Rest for a while," it said, calm and reassuring. I didn't want to rest, I wanted to live. But my body was done. My muscles were frozen, my lungs burning, and I had nothing left to give. So with no other choice, I listened. I let go. The second I did, everything changed.